Welcome to Senate Spotlight, a show that takes a closer look at the work of the Hawaii State Senate. Joining us today is Senator Pohai Ryan, who represents parts of Kailua to Hawaii Kai, and Senator Sam Slom, who represents part of Hawaii Kai to Diamond Head. Thanks for joining us, Senators.
Aloha. Thank you for the invitation.
Let's catch up a bit. The 2011 legislative session ended in May. So what have you been up to since? Senator Ryan?
Wow, that's a big question. First of all, I have to give plugs to my entire district, which encompasses Coconut Grove, Kailua, Kainalu, Lani Kai, Kailua Beach, Keolu Hills, all of Waimanalo, Port Lock, Cocoa Head area, and by Kaiser High School and Queensgate. I just have to put that in. I've been actually very busy doing a lot of community events and appearances, and I must say I really enjoy it, and working with the community as well. There you see me acknowledging, yes, presenting a senatorial certificate acknowledging excellence in our school system. The Kailua Elementary School librarian received a national award for the library at Kailua Elementary, which was done with very little funding, but very innovative, and we were quite proud of that. You also see during session we acknowledged on Hawaiian Caucus Day community members of the Native Hawaiian community, and this year we acknowledged Auntie Nikki Hines from Waimanalo, especially because she does so much for the community. She founded the food bank collection in Waimanalo, and it's going strong after many years, and she's really an icon, and we wanted to recognize that, people who give back. I've been attending a lot of graduations at every level, high school, middle school, 6th grade, a lot of May Day programs. But better than that, I've been reaching out to a lot of people, and people are much more comfortable now just coming up to me and sharing. I will say that people don't hold back. They feel very comfortable, and they will say what they really feel, which can be a big advantage, I think, for me in trying to do my work. And hopefully people will come to us so that we can help develop bills that they want to see happen in the Senate. So that's part of what I've been doing.
And Senator Slom, you've been quite busy yourself.
Quite busy. It's a good question, though, because a lot of people think that because we are a part-time legislature, and we're part-time, that we don't do anything or we're on recess from May on. And actually, in some cases, we're probably more busy. As Pohai says, I mean, we go to the graduations, we go to May Day, which, by the way, is a lot more fun than being in the Senate session, going to those events, particularly when you see the kids and you see the things that they're able to do. But we meet with constituents. We have informational briefings on a number of different subjects and topics during the time. And it is an opportunity to go back into your district and talk to people. I probably meet more constituents at Foodland and Long's Drugs and Costco. I talk to people. They will tell you, like Pohai said, they don't hold back, and that's how you get the true information. We live in an age now, everybody wants to do surveys. They do public opinion surveys, or they do these questions every day on TV or in the newspapers or whatever. When people come up and tell you things, you know that it's really meaningful to them. And they do. They let you know what they like and what they don't like, particularly about this past legislative session and the impact. But we also get involved, and we had Representative Ward and I had co-sponsored a town hall meeting that Senator Ryan and Representative Hashem had taken part in, and boy, they were good questions, weren't they?
Yeah,
They asked questions.
Straightforward.
And then just a couple of weeks ago, we had another town hall meeting that just sprung up because of the imminent closure of the Foodland supermarket in Cocoa Marina. And it was interesting, at a neighborhood board meeting, it was pointed out, well, that's not your district, Senator. And we may recall that 10 years ago, during reapportionment, the whole face of Hawaii Kai and East Honolulu was changed. Makapu'u Point used to be the geographical demarcation for the 8th senatorial district, which is me, and the 25th, which is Senator Ryan. Well, I take an old school approach. My business cards, which by the way are not printed at taxpayer expense, says state senator on there. So if I get a call from Ho'onau, or I get a call from Lihui and somebody wants help, I don't ask them or don't tell them, hey, you're not in my district. I'm a state senator, we're one of 25. We'll try to help any way that we can. The other point about that, however, though, is that we don't believe in, a lot of times, getting the government involved in things that are purely private matters, as was this in terms of lease negotiations and all that. But the community was really up in arms, and they wanted their legislators to do something about it. And so we told them, we're not getting involved in the private negotiations, but we'll have a forum for you. We'll try to get the people there that we can, ask questions and all. So basically that's what we do. A lot of the things, as I say, though, they just pop up, very shortly, and you don't know, but we're there to serve. I mean, we believe in public service. I think the Senate really has an edge on the House. I think we're more involved in things like that, and we've got more staying power, so that's what we do.
Right, and giving the public the opportunity to have a forum to
Sure.
give their voice.
And then, of course, we've both been involved in this will be the 4th annual Independence Day at Moanalua Bay. There have been Moanalua Bay cleanups. There's been things in the various neighborhoods and all, but lots of times just calls that you get. Somebody needs help, and it may be a city issue or it may be a federal issue. But as a state senator, you want to try to help them, and you don't want to just say, oh, that's not my bailiwick, call so-and-so. You want to try to follow through with them, try to help them where you can, and that's what we do all year round.
That's a good point, Sam, because I think it's important as elected officials that we also empower our community members who come and they have no idea how to organize, but they're very passionate about an issue or a cause. And he's right. A lot of times it'll just spring up out of nowhere. Recently I had a meeting in Kailua that addressed the Ku'ule Road beautification project that's involving a grant application. I wanted to delay it so more people could attend, but they demanded, they wanted it right away. So we put it together and we had over 100 people attend. But I handed it off to the city because now it's in their ballpark to find out where to go with it. But I'm glad I had that meeting because I needed more education on that subject. And in the end, after the meeting, I realized I did not support the plan that was being presented for the grant application. And I gave my reasons why. And I sent it out to the constituents, and they were appreciative that there was follow-through and not just floating in air and wondering, okay, where are we going now? You just let us vent and then nothing happens. But I think it's important that our community does have a venue to air their concerns. With the Foodland situation, a lot of emotions are attached to Foodland because it's an iconic island company, and they've endured both good and bad economic times. And that's what the people see. They see someone that's going to be there through good and bad, and they're not going anywhere. And I think that was the big alarm for a lot of people. And now they're really starting to see the bigger picture, which is not two businesses fighting, but really it's about whether Hawaii Kai should be eliminating a food source that's so important for the community. And that's the broader issue.
I think it's also important, our communities particularly, Pohai, Kailua, Waimanalo, Hawaii Kai, Kuli'o'o, Aina, these communities are involved and they're engaged.
Yeah.
But sometimes people get turned off and they feel everything is a done deal, or nobody's listening, or you can't fight City Hall. Well, I think this past legislative session showed, as a matter of fact, you can. You not only can you fight it, but you can win, but first you have to show up. You've got to be there. And for us as legislators, lots of times we'll get involved in an issue where we may have some preconceived notions, but the whole idea is to have the town hall meeting or have the hearing so that people come forward and they bring you things and I said, boy, I never thought of that. And that's really a good idea. So for people that are watching, we don't want you to be, feel that you're disenfranchised. You run our government. You are our bosses, and we do listen to you. And you can make a difference. Not always, but you can make a difference, and it's important.
So some of those issues concerning the state, including your districts, is the homeless issue. Statewide, there are more than 6,000 people that are homeless, 34 more than last year. That's according to the statewide homeless point-in-time count. And more than 2,000 of them are not in shelters, so they're living on the streets. Living on the beaches, and more than 3,000 are in shelters. Senator Ryan, what's your thoughts on this major problem?
Well, first of all, the homelessness is a statewide problem that needs to be addressed. It's not the same in every community. For example, we have a hidden homeless in the Hawaii Kai area, some elderly and some youth. And in Waimanalo, we have a lot of families that can't afford the market rate rentals, and their extended families allow them to come and use the address within Waimanalo and the facilities or phones or whatever they need. We also have the aged out foster children that are living on the beach. This is such a sad category, I think, because once they make 18, the checks stop coming in, and where do they go? Yeah, they get displaced, and some of them are just basically thrown out. And in Kailua, we have a lot of runaway teens and elderly homeless too, as well as those who are chronically on drugs or whatever. I think the governor's attempt to force people to not create more dependency on the homelessness and really have them come in for the services that are available, because what I'm seeing going out in the community is people are starting to feel that not enough is being done within the homeless community to change their own situation. Even though they understand, the public understands that homelessness varies from situation to situation, I think they all feel, a lot of people are feeling that they need to do a little more to change their plight, and to maybe we should be requiring community service of some kind from people. I mean, I think it's come to that point, especially because the economy is so bad and a lot of working people are having really hard time. They're just feeling that they need to see that everybody is in this together, trying to alleviate the pressure that the budget has to address the homelessness.
Senator Slom?
Well, let me just say that, you know, we're not like several communities in terms of you seeing homeless, you know, all over the place, but they are there, as Pohai said. But my point is a little bit different. First of all, there's no one size that fits all. And there are people that are homeless that work, but they can't afford a home. There are people that are on drugs. There are people that have mental health issues. There are people that want to be on the streets. I mean, they do not. I helped out at the Next Step shelter for a year, and we talked to a lot of people there. And there were people that were camped outside the shelter. There's people that would tell you, I'm not going into a shelter because they have rules. Yeah. And they didn't want any rules. So first of all, you have to have the federal, state, and local governments together, and that was not the case. The governor's trying to do that now, and I support him in that respect. But the other thing is, you can't say the homeless and try to have a solution. And I guess my bottom line is that a lot of these problems we have created in government. We've created it by having one of the highest tax states in the nation. We're usually number 2 or number 3 in national rankings. The cost of living, the cost of doing business here, and my humble opinion, we didn't do anything to alleviate that problem during this past session. As a matter of fact, we've raised taxes, we've raised costs, and it's only going to get worse. So we talk about it, we see it all over, everybody throws their hands up, but I'm saying they're looking more at symptoms than they are the cause. And from my standpoint, the cause is how we are taxing people so much, including businesses, that they can't hire or they can't pay or they can't provide benefits that they used to. And then it also goes down into social service agencies. So it's a money problem that starts out and ends out with that issue.
So if we don't raise taxes, how do we create revenue, or how do we jumpstart the economy?
I'm glad you asked me, because as the lone Republican in the 25-member Senate, the only voice of reason and rationality, look,
that's up for debate.
Yeah. It's real simple. The idea is, no one has ever been able to show me a state or a country that has taxed themselves or spent themselves into prosperity. We're looking right now at Europe. We're looking at Greece, where they're rioting because they're on debt's deficit doorstep. We have a United States Congress that is supposed to meet an August 2nd deadline for raising the debt ceiling. We've got a $14.3 trillion debt, which boggles everybody's mind. That's all because of government spending. What do you have to do? You have to create incentives, and you have to create opportunities for people to want to go into business, for taking the risks on their own, for creating jobs. Jobs is the lost component here. We've created government jobs, but we haven't created private jobs. The private jobs provide the welfare and the income for people to be on their own. But when you're talking about taxes and you're talking about government spending, all you're saying is we're going to tax this group more or this person more because we think they're rich or because we think they can afford it. And meanwhile, we're not doing anything to improve our our financial environment. The problem is a lot of people in this state, most people, depend on a Dan Inouye or a Dan Akaka in faraway Washington to bring home the goodies. Well, I know they're just teenagers at 86, but we're not going to have them all that long, and the state is not doing anything to have a plan B, to really, encourage people. And people want to come here to do business. People have come here to do business, but they've left. Why? Because of the high taxes, because of the regulations. We're even getting into that now with the military. So you've got all these issues, but to me, the tax and spending is not the alternative, and that's not the way to go. But we're, unlike Indiana and Wisconsin and Ohio and New York and California, we still think that we can spend our way into prosperity, and we can't.
Well, I don't agree with all of Sam's points.
Why not? You should. You should.
But I will say that my experience in working in government housing, at one time I really thought I was a bleeding heart liberal when it came to human services and helping out the unfortunate. But I also saw a lot of abuse. I saw a lot of people who were taking advantage of the system. It was very maddening. I'm not saying that everyone does, but I think we need to have a really good clean house. We have to clean house. And we have to empower people and not create more dependency generation after generation. We have to give them self-worth and pride to want to improve their situation. And somewhere along the line, we've missed that. And we've created a generation now going into a very entitled, it's an entitlement. I know that not everyone has the skills to get jobs that pay the wage that they should be paid, but how can we address that? I don't think that just having people sitting idle is the answer either. What I saw in government housing when I was working for a major nonprofit was that part of their leases, actually, they're supposed to do community service if they're not working because their rentals are usually waived. Well, I didn't see people doing community service. It's just living up to a contract that they should be living up to.
Couple points about that, final points. As I mentioned during our Ways and Means hearings this year, the Department of Human Services in the state of Hawaii is going to overtake education as the single business expense to our taxpayers. It's going to happen in a couple months, over $2.5 billion a year. And the problem is we keep adding more and more people to these roles. So I agree with Pohai that you've got to have things for people to do, number one. Number two, if you're talking about self-esteem, you don't give somebody self-esteem by having them take a session or something like that. You give them something that they can accomplish. They see that they can actually accomplish that. That's self-esteem. The other thing is unfunded mandates. One of the largest problems we have in our state is unfunded mandates from the federal government particularly. And everybody talks about the Micronesian problem. If you look at the shelters, you're going to find a lot of people in there are Micronesians. If you look at healthcare utilizations, Micronesians. It costs the state of Hawaii $130 million a year currently just to service Micronesians. The federal government kicks back $11 million out of that total. That's not right. Nobody is blaming the Micronesians, and nobody's blaming the idea of the compact. But when the federal government or anybody else makes an agreement, then they should be prepared to step up to the plate and pay for it as well. Taxpayers of Hawaii can't continue to do that. We have other expenditures.
I think historically, though, the taxpayers of Hawaii, and it's really a remnant of the plantation economy that our state has had in our history, but we have this feeling of inclusion and taking care of almost a parental way of doing things. And I don't know if that is something that needs to be really scrutinized and revamped. I think more and more people are saying, okay, maybe we're spoiling the child. Maybe we need to do a little bit more to make a more responsible child become the adult, meaning figuratively, those who we try to help, and they're not changing their fate, because it's like repeating the same thing and expecting a different result, and it's not happening. And what it's happening, it's getting broader because of the bad economy. We're seeing more people getting displaced out of work and out of their homes. So I do commend the governor and Director Alexander for trying to go in the right direction. It's a tough road, but I think including all the social service people who are involved is the main way that we're going to see some significant change.
Let me talk about that economy for just a moment, and the idea that we are doing things exactly the way we've done them before. And to hope for different results, you're not going to get it. And if you have a good economy, you have a strong economy, if you have people starting businesses and you have a good business and investment climate, then you've got more revenues to deal with. The problem is, if you look at the ratings of Hawaii from all kinds of organizations nationally, the one thing in common is we always rank near the bottom. We're 46, 47, 48, or even 50. And you can say, well, this group has an agenda, or this group is this politically or whatever, but you can't say that about all of these different organizations. And the fact of the matter is we haven't changed. I'm all for safety nets, but as Pohai said, you've got to allow children to grow up. Mm-hmm. And it's one thing for people to say, we want you to be inclusive. I mean, the people of Hawaii are the most generous in the world. There's something in Japan, we empty our wallets. There's something on the mainland, we empty our wallets. We take people in. And that's well and good if it's voluntary. However, when the government decides programs for us and decides directions we must go in, and then we find out later on maybe those directions weren't so good, or maybe people did take advantage of these programs. I continue to maintain that we do not have a shortage of revenue. We have lack of restraint on spending and really making people accountable. It's our money. But see, when we were in the legislature, we passed billion-dollar budgets, $21 billion for the next 2 fiscal years. Nobody that I know of has that kind of money, and they can't identify with it. That's why people in Honolulu got really upset when the city council was going to double the parking rates at Kapiolani Park from 50 cents an hour to $1. And they got really exercised at that. But they don't get exercised about an $8 billion train to nowhere, or the $2 billion in sewer repairs, or the $1.5 billion in water main breaks. We have 375 water main breaks a year, more than one a day. We've got all these things we have to take care of. But people identify with those things that they're really familiar with, and their brains can get around. But we've got to do a better job. We have to do it because it's the people's money and because that's our responsibility as senators.
There's about 5 more months till the next session starts. Mm-hmm. What are you folks looking forward to, and what do you folks want to work on in preparation for the next Senate session?
Well,
or the legislative session, I should say.
I am, like I said at the beginning of the program, that I feel really busy, and that's a good thing. I've had community meetings, and we're going to be sponsoring workshops in the district. In Waimanalo, we're going to have a how to create a bill, how to lobby for your cause for the average citizen, and show them how it's done in the legislature. And also at the city level to, again, empower people. We're also going to do Windward Green Building Expo on the Windward side, and that's to help promote businesses that are in this industry, because we have a lot of businesses in the Kailua area that do green building, and it is the newest direction that the state wants to go in when it comes to construction. We're also going to do a disaster kit building workshop for the kupuna in Waimanalo. There's a lot of things going on, and I'm looking forward to, in Hawaii Kai, how Vea Heao received the matching award for the Legacy Lands Trust, and that's something I'm very excited about for Hawaii Kai, because it'll become a central point for Hawaii Kai and how to have good land stewardship for cultural sites. So there's a lot of exciting things going on in the district besides visiting with people and finding out what do they really feel. The feedback about the budget, though, is very, I must say, people are frustrated because they do feel we're not doing enough to raise revenue. I have a group in the Windward side that wants me to introduce a bill again for lottery, a government lottery. Because I feel we haven't done enough to encourage revenue for the state, I'm not adverse to that idea. I'm going to educate myself more about it and see what they have to say and propose other things. But that's just one thing. There's a lot of waste in government, of course. We've seen that in WHAM hearings this year with procurement system.
Yes.
I've seen it myself where unattended or unmaintained facilities can actually cost us a lot of money because we're ignoring it, you know, things like that.
Senator Slom?
Well, yeah, I'll be involved in community activities. I'll be heavily involved as I am with the reapportionment process, and hopefully we can put Hawaii Kai back together so that I don't have to cross my street and be in another district, that kind of thing, yeah. But also, I've got my staff continually working on the budget, because here's the bad secret.
But Sam, I like Hawaii Kai now.
I know you do, I know, but you're a Kailua girl, and we want you to be happy in Kailua and Waimanalo.
I want more friends in Hawaii Kai.
Anyway, we're working on another budget alternative, because I started to say, here's the bad secret. Everybody was doing this, cutting here, making changes to balance the budget. And as I've said continuously since the latter part of the session, the budget is not balanced. By law, we must balance it, but nobody checks up on it. The budget is not balanced. I can show the figures where it's not. But be that as it may, come the end of the next fiscal period, July 1st of 2012, we're going to be faced with the same problems. We're going to be short of revenue. Everybody's going to be complaining that their programs are getting cut. We need more money, and we're going to have a deficit. And the reason for that is because we haven't changed systemically the things that we're doing. And all of those raids that the legislature did this year, Hurricane Relief Fund, Rainy Day Fund, all the different special funds and all, that money's not coming back. So once you raid that money, it's gone. Getting money from the U.S. Congress and from the Obama administration, gone. Not coming back. We're not getting stimulus funds. In fact, we found out that the shovel-ready projects nationally and locally weren't even shovel-ready, and the money was being spent for other things. So it's going to be an emphasis on the fiscal thing. And where I would disagree with Senator Ryan is people I talk to say, don't raise revenues, don't raise those taxes. Be like every single mom, every family, every small business. If you don't have more revenues coming in, you find out how to be leaner, how to be smarter, how to cut back, how to do without for the time being until you get those revenues. And that's what the lesson is for the state government.
Well, thank you, Senators, for coming on Senate Spotlight. Continue the good work that you're doing, and we thank everyone for tuning in to watching Senate Spotlight. And don't forget, you can connect with us on Facebook at Hawaii State Senate and on Twitter at Hawaii Senate. See you next time.